It's Wednesday, January 7th. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. Police clear an area after explosives are discovered in a Sydney business. Shelburne rallies to help the family of the boy killed by dogs.
We'll need to watch for some slick and icy surfaces tonight and Thursday. Slightly milder temperatures still expected for the end of the week.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. We're going to begin in Cape Breton tonight, where the morning started with a flurry of activity in Sydney. Buildings were evacuated and police closed off a portion of an area near downtown when an explosive was found inside a business. With more, here's CTV's Ryan McDonald.
Police tape covered a couple of city blocks, and a hole could be seen in the glass door of a downtown business. All signs that it was far from a normal Wednesday morning in Sydney.
Just after 7:30 this morning, we received a call about a property damage at the Ideal Car Care on Pitt Street in Sydney. Officers responded and noticed a broken window. As they went inside, they found an item that appeared to be an explosive device.
Police have confirmed what an emergency alert first told people shortly after 9:30, that the explosive device was a grenade.
It appears to be live. We're not sure yet. We have the military disposal unit coming down to remove it safely.
The area nearby is a mix of homes and businesses, but Pitt Street, which was cordoned off, is mostly commercial. Some people had to work remotely for the day.
We evacuated a city block, blocked off the roads, and then a little while later put out the alert so we wouldn't have any traffic in the area.
As for whether the grenade was thrown into the car repair center,
we're investigating now. We don't know exactly at this point what had happened, but it does appear that way.
After the initial response, much of the rest of the day was spent waiting for an explosive removal team to arrive from Halifax, about a 4-hour drive away. Police here say no such thing exists in the Sydney area because, frankly, it's so rare that they deal with anything like this.
Yeah, it's the first time that I've seen it in my time here.
Police wouldn't say whether there are any suspects citing the ongoing investigation.
No, it appears to be a isolated incident. And if it becomes more than that, we'll let the public know.
The military team arrived late this afternoon to remove the grenade and deal with it. Ryan McDonald, CTV News, Sydney.
We're learning more about the teenage boy who was killed in that dog attack in Shelburne County. The community is now rallying behind his family as an investigation continues. Here's CTV's Hafsa Arif.
Friends of the family describe Drew Nickerson as someone happiest exploring and cycling through his neighborhood.
He was a little angel. When Dawn bought the house, she told me she bought it in hopes that it would give Drew the freedom to be able to play outdoors and have fun in nature.
Harris says last week Drew was returning home from a friend's house on his bicycle when 3 large dogs attacked him. RCMP now confirmed the attack involved 2 cane corsos and a Rottweiler.
Been conducting a neighborhood canvass. We've been able to locate and seize some video footage of the attack.
Police insist the owners have been cooperative and even requested their dogs be put down immediately.
They've been affected by this tragedy as well, and they've been cooperating with us with anything we've asked.
But those closest to the family say the 13-year-old did nothing to provoke the attack.
He was riding his bicycle like he loves to do, and the dogs were running loose with nobody home to look after the dogs.
While investigators sort out the details, support for Drew's mother has exploded. Harris started a fundraiser, which in less than 24 hours has skyrocketed to over $60,000.
When I talked to Dawn, she said every one of those donations to her is like a hug.
A separate community raffle organized by a fisherman who lives nearby is also bringing in tens of thousands of dollars.
Today I threw in 10 pounds of scallops and I asked a couple buddies to donate some lobster. And I figured, we might get a few things and maybe raise a couple $1,000, but I didn't expect it to blow up the way it did.
Hutt also received many donated items. Proof, he says, that tragedy in a small place hits everybody. Drew's soccer community is also remembering the 13-year-old. In a statement they told CTV, Drew will be remembered by his warm smile, his kindness, and the joy he brought to those around. Qualities that reflect how deeply he was loved by his family and embraced by his community. For now, RCMP are urging anyone with information or video to contact their Shelburne detachment as they work to understand more on the circumstances of Drew's death. Hafsa Arif, CTV News, Halifax.
Dozens of high-tech jobs in Halifax have evaporated with the sudden closing of a world-leading video game maker. The shutdown puts 71 people out of work immediately. CTV late anchor Bruce Frisco has been looking into the details. He joins us with the latest. Bruce, this is quite a blow in that community.
Oh, certainly is, Todd. Ubisoft is a company that's based in France, and it acquired the Halifax operation back in 2015, we're told. It's worth noting that many of the Halifax workers became the first in North America to join a union, the Game and Media Workers Guild of Canada. We're told the Halifax operation specialized in those free-to-play mobile titles that actually make money from players buying optional items in the games. As of September, Ubisoft had 17,000 employees around the world, but business apparently hasn't been that great. They've been slashing jobs and streamlining since 2023. The company insists the union decision out of Halifax had nothing to do with shutting everything down today. Spokesperson telling us via email, quote, Ubisoft fully respects employees' rights to unionize and has unionized teams globally. The union, though, isn't buying it, saying the timing is, quote, raising many questions for which we do not yet have answers. Spokesperson goes on to describe the decision as devastating and say they will be demanding answers from Ubisoft as they help members transition. And speaking of transitions, the company says employees are being supported with comprehensive severance packages and career assistance. Gamers also might be interested to know that the live operation for the game Assassin's Creed Rebellion, which was primarily supported in Halifax, will end now, and no new content for that game will be produced.
Well, that's interesting as well. Is the company keeping its operations in other parts of the country?
Oh, sure is. They say very much so, noting there are Ubisoft offices in Toronto, Winnipeg, and 4 others in Quebec. Yeah. They add the industry has become increasingly competitive, and that forced them to streamline and focus on projects with the greatest chance of actually making some money, Todd.
All right. Bruce Frisco joining us live tonight from the newsroom. Of course, he'll be here with the late newscast at 11:30. Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you.
Rising food prices are not a surprise, of course, but a new survey shows just how much inflation has taken out of our wallets. And a maritime province tops the list. CTV's Derek Haggett has the details.
It's a typical grocery run for Garth and Marie-Josée of Skiduk. They hit the value produce stand, then a trip to the discount store, and finally a stop at an independent family-owned grocer.
Whatever the best price is, that's where we're going. Go through the flyers, and that's how we make our budget.
New Brunswick shoppers like this couple face the worst food inflation in the entire country right now, according to a new study. At 3.7%, New Brunswick has had the greatest increase in food prices from May 2024 to May 2025, followed by Newfoundland and Labrador, Ontario, Saskatchewan, and Prince Edward Island. Nova Scotia had the lowest increase in food prices over the same period of time at 2.7%. The higher food inflation in New Brunswick, not a big shock at this grocery store.
No, it doesn't surprise me at all. I thought it'd be higher than that, actually, for the prices that we're paying.
Doesn't surprise me at all. I've lived in other provinces, and I know it's cheaper, but we got to eat.
A leading expert on national food prices says it's not uncommon to see higher prices here in Atlantic Canada.
Most food that is actually consumed in New Brunswick is not made in New Brunswick, and that's the reality of the Atlantic overall.
One of the most expensive food items right now, beef, which has jumped dramatically by 12.7%. It's prices like that force many to shop around.
It doesn't leave a lot for anything else.
Derek Haggett, CTV News, Moncton.
There's a live look at the uptown in St. John, where it's currently 1 degree. Let's bring in CTV meteorologist Kaylin Mitchell in the weather center. And folks would take that 1 degree over what we had a couple of days ago. But There was a lot that came with it in various parts of the region today, from rain to snow, and a lot of people were talking about freezing rain.
Yeah, I know there's quite a few people around the Maritimes as well that would exchange the weather conditions that we had today for colder conditions, but with a little bit more sunshine, Todd. But yeah, St. John sitting just on the plus side of the scale. That was one of the few locations in New Brunswick today to completely switch over to some rain. That mostly happened St. John and along the Bay of Fundy coastline into coastal Charlotte County, including around Campobello and Grand Manan. Other parts of the south of New Brunswick contended with freezing rain, and up in the north where it was a little bit chillier, it still is a little bit chillier this evening. Temperatures a few degrees below zero, mostly some lighter snow moving through. For Prince Edward Island, it's been a mixture of some rain and some freezing rain, though an expected turnover to a period of snow is still ahead as we go through tonight. It's been freezing rain in the north of Nova Scotia, and there, like Prince Edward Island, they're expected to turn back over to some snow tonight. Other parts of Nova Scotia seeing some rain, drizzle, and fog. Here's what it looks like on radar. So this is on the backside of a low pressure system that is crawling up the Atlantic coastline of Nova Scotia. You can see the rain in that province being indicated in through the greens as well as into the yellows and the oranges. There's an area of very steady rain coming in through the central part of the province now. It's one of the reasons why there's some rainfall warnings in effect. There's still some freezing rain around parts of Prince Edward Island, southern New Brunswick, and then that snow up towards the north. Lots of different weather warnings in effect around the region. We have freezing rain warnings that continue for the Kennebecasis Valley into the southeast New Brunswick into this evening. A snowfall warning has been issued for parts of Cumberland and Colchester counties in Nova Scotia, with the potential of 15 to 20 centimeters of snow to come in tonight into early Thursday morning. A rainfall warning out for central areas of Nova Scotia, where the rain may total 25 to 50 millimeters. A wind warning in effect for northern Inverness County in Cape Breton. And to top it off, Todd, special weather statements out for Prince Edward Island and the remainder of northern areas of mainland Nova Scotia. Possible snowfall amounts in excess of 5 centimeters as we move through the night.
Okay, we'll see you later in the show. Nova Scotia Power was in front of the Energy Board seeking approval for an 8% rate hike. Well, that was met with pushback from opponents who argued customers already pay too much for what they insist is too little. CTV's Jesse Thomas reports.
Nova Scotia Power says it needs to increase power rates by 8% over the next 2 years to improve system reliability and help pay for the $1.3 billion in major projects necessary to transition away from coal-fired power and adding new renewable energy sources to the grid, while keeping up with inflation.
It's never a good time for our customers to see a request for a rate increase. We understand that, but we also hear from our customers that we need to continue to invest in reliability to make sure that Nova Scotians have access to a reliable electricity system.
Greg said the utility is trying to find the right balance between reliability and affordability, but the pushback was immediate. The Affordable Energy Coalition called on the Energy Board to protect households against a rate hike that would add hundreds to the average power bill, hitting low-income families hardest. They question whether a monopoly should be allowed to drive profits higher while customers struggle.
I'd like to see the board reconsider the 9% return on investment rate that Nova Scotia Power gets, to bring that down to a more reasonable rate. There was an expert who suggested 7.6%, which we agree with.
Both opposition parties are against an increase when they say service remains unreliable. They're calling for a full inquiry into Nova Scotia Power's operations.
Rates have gone up $400 since 2021. With this application, they would go up $600 by 2027, and Nova Scotians can't bear that cost.
Liberal leader Ian Rankin is calling on the board to reject the application and impose a multi-year rate plan that caps increases to provide stability.
So we're against asking for more, and we're against coming so often to ask for ratepayers to finance decisions that we don't believe are always prudent.
Nova Scotia Power said the cybersecurity breach, which impacted thousands of customers' records, isn't part of the rate hike request. The public hearing continues Thursday. Jesse Thomas, CTV News, Halifax.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Monday, you may recall, we heard from a Halifax restaurateur struggling to stay open. Well, tonight, a longtime cafe owner in Fredericton tells our Laura Brown she's selling as costs have become just too high to go on.
This dough is on day 2 of a 3-day process. Chilling, laminating, shaping. Important steps in making an authentic croissant. And pastry chef Patty Hollenberg will only serve the real deal. but it's cost her.
Do you really want to look and see your customers go gasp at a $7 croissant?
It's why she's tried not to increase her prices at her downtown Fredericton cafe. But butter and chocolate are as expensive as ever. So is labor, power, insurance, and property taxes.
Paying people properly, trying to buy good ingredients, it just the cost of everything has just caught up with me.
After 14 years, Hollenberg says it was either sell or claim bankruptcy. She chose the first. Restaurants Canada says right now 41% of the country's restaurants are not profitable.
We're talking double-digit increases across the board, whether it's food, labor, utilities, operating expenses, insurance. It's an incredibly steep increase in cost. At the same time, the consumers don't have as much money to spend on restaurants.
Next Friday, Chess Piece Cafe will be under new ownership. Hollenberg says none of her staff should be affected. She's hoping to further her education, eventually teach about food literacy. But she is mourning the moments that made her love operating the cafe.
Getting to be a part of someone's just day is not lost on me.
What will be lost to the many regulars will be seeing her every day. Laura Brown, CTV News, Fredericton.
Well, for decades, it was the go-to spot on the Halifax waterfront for seafood. Now, Salty's is a shell of what it once was. The former restaurant on the boardwalk is empty. The windows are out. It hosted tourists, business diners, and celebrities for a long time. Perhaps you had a lobster roll there. Managers have said Salty's served more than 1 million of them over the years. It closed in 2024 after the owners were unable to reach a new lease agreement with the property owners. The boardwalk at Historic Properties on the Halifax waterfront is undergoing a renovation. Halifax's McDonald Bridge is going to be closed for the weekend. We have the details now at our website, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. A Nova Scotia man has admitted to a fatal stabbing in Dartmouth more than 2 years ago. And while some details are unclear, it all started with a verbal dispute before one man pulled a knife. CTV's Callum Smith reports from court.
Family of Benjamin Clattenburg hug one another and prosecutors after learning the man accused of killing him has now pleaded guilty. Today was supposed to be the start of 35-year-old Jamie Duckenfield's second-degree murder trial. Instead, lawyers spent much of the day having private discussions before Duckenfield came into court and pleaded guilty to the lesser charge of manslaughter.
We have had many meetings with the victim's family over the last couple of months, as well as earlier on in the proceedings, and we met with them multiple times today throughout the proceedings to keep them informed about what was going on.
According to the facts agreed by Crown and defense lawyers, Clattenburg and Duckenfield were driving in Clattenburg's car on Portland Street in Dartmouth on the afternoon of October 16th, 2023.
A verbal dispute happened in the car. The victim, Mr. Clattenburg, pulled over the vehicle. At that time, Mr. Duckenfield exited the vehicle, threw a food container, as well as started kicking the vehicle of Mr. Clattenburg. At that point, Mr. Clattenburg exited the driver's side of his vehicle and a fight ensued at that time, a physical altercation.
Then Duckenfield pulled a knife and stabbed Clattenburg in the chest. Duckenfield fled the scene on foot and threw out the knife in an alley near the intersection of Dundas and Portland Street. He was arrested nearby at 2:33 p.m. that day, and Clattenburg was pronounced dead in hospital at 2:40. There were no details about the relationship between the men or what led to the verbal fight, but a more fulsome account is expected at sentencing. That's set for March 30th, and the Crown says the sentencing range for manslaughter is typically between 4 to 12 years, but stops short of sharing what they're seeking. However, prosecutors did say it will be a contested hearing, meaning the two sides don't agree on what the penalty should be. Callum Smith, CTV News, Dartmouth.
Time for our first break. Still to come, snow and freezing rain continues for some areas this evening. Kaylin returns with the full forecast. But next, have you noticed shortages in the dairy aisle?
There was a planned closure in the fall at Amqui, Quebec.
Quantities are low on some products. We'll tell you why after this. Maritimers looking for some dairy products like lactose-free milk might have to stop at more than one grocery store to find it. It's been difficult to get the products. CTV's Jonathan McGuinness looked into why.
The dairy coolers are noticeably low on a certain product. Lactose-free milk can be hard to find. Stops at grocery stores in Cole Harbour and Halifax showed the same thing, a low supply.
It's hard to pinpoint the exact reason.
The director of the Dalhousie University Agri-Foods Lab says there haven't been any plant closures, winter storms to disrupt shipments, or diseases affecting production. Still, Sylvain Charlebois has a theory.
Some of the potential reasons why we are seeing shortages is that since January 1st, there are new rules related to vitamin D in dairy.
Those rules increase the amount of vitamin D in some Canadian dairy products to compensate for the shortage many people have, especially in the winter when sunlight is limited. The demand for lactose-free milk isn't as high as it is with other dairy products.
My guess is that some of the verticals, some of the SKUs, like lactose-free milk, they haven't been able to adapt quickly or as quickly as with other SKUs or other categories.
Shortages aren't confined to lactose-free milk. Sour cream can also be hard to come by, but according to Charlebois, that is more easily explained.
There was a plant closure in the fall at Amqui, Quebec, which actually produces sour cream.
The federal government established the new rules around vitamin D content in cow's milk, goat's milk, and margarine in 2022. The dairy industry had until January 1st to comply. Jonathan McGuinness, CTV News, Halifax.
Thank you, John. Still to come, flurries for the Maritimes tomorrow. Kaylin Mitchell is working on the details and the full forecast. We'll have that for you in a couple of minutes. We have to thank the conductor of this train for making sure he was pulling through Macadam just as we came to the live shot. This is, in fact, that beautiful old train station in Macadam, New Brunswick, where it's currently -1.
Yeah.
And the train station has a train in front of it. You can't beat that.
Well, we're happy to have a little bit of an action shot here as we're getting into our weather forecast. It looks like a nice wintry scene around Macadam at the moment. Did notice there was some snow down on the ground. Could be some icy spots, though, as well as parts of the south of New Brunswick have been contending with some freezing rain throughout the day today and still into this evening. More on our weather in a moment. Let's take a look at weather conditions quickly across the country, beginning out west. Right now at Vancouver and Victoria, it's a mix of sun and cloud, and temperatures sitting around the mid-single digits. Up north, it is quite cold. Whitehorse -18, Yellowknife at -26. Some of that colder air cutting into parts of northern Alberta with Fort McMurray at -14. Calgary, though, sitting at 2 degrees with some sunshine. -4 at Regina. Winnipeg sitting at -6. Iqaluit right now, -10. So a couple degrees colder than it was at this time yesterday. Down through southern Ontario, it's 2 degrees at Toronto, and then a little bit chillier around Ottawa at -3. Montreal at -2. Here in the Maritimes, -1 at Fredericton, +1 at Halifax, 0 at Charlottetown, and -1 at St. John's in Newfoundland. Taking a look at our forecast timeline, we continue to contend with a wintry mix of precipitation in the region as we're moving through this evening and tonight. Now, once again, for most of Nova Scotia, it is rain, drizzle, and fog. However, there has been some freezing rain in northern parts of the mainland of Nova Scotia, areas of Cumberland and Colchester counties, potentially parts of Pictou County as well, and up in the Cape Breton Highlands. Now, that area of the region that's been seeing a little bit of freezing rain, Nova Scotia, as temperatures fall this evening and tonight, that part of the province is expected to turn back over to a period of accumulating snow. And that's why we have that snowfall warning in effect for parts of Cumberland and Colchester counties, as well as a special weather statement out for Pictou County. Prince Edward Island as well has been seeing some freezing rain. That's expected to turn over to some snow tonight, and some accumulating snow still expected around Moncton, the southeast New Brunswick, as we move towards and a few hours after midnight. Now, by the early morning hours of Thursday, most of this weather is in the process of winding down to some flurries, but some flurries are expected in the north of New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, northern eastern areas of Nova Scotia. Across the region, please be careful about icy or slippery surfaces at the start of the day for tomorrow. Even those parts of the Maritimes that have mostly seen rain out of this weather system have some low temperatures tonight, headed back down towards the freezing mark, so wet surfaces could become icy. Winds in the forecast for tomorrow will be out of the northwest. We'll have some gusts between 20 and 40 kilometers per hour. Let's take a look at those low temperatures that I mentioned. And for the province of New Brunswick, falling into a range from around -4 to 0 down to around -1 for Prince Edward Island for tonight. And most of the low temperatures for Nova Scotia will fall into a range around -1 to +1. Then looking at the high temperatures in the forecast for tomorrow across the north of New Brunswick between -1 and +3. 3 degrees there at Miramichi, a little bit milder. Fredericton near 2 degrees. Same thing goes for Campobello and Grand Manan. St. John, the high temperature near 2 degrees, and for Moncton in the southeast. Across Prince Edward Island, communities like O'Leary and Charlottetown, St. Peter's Bay and Montague will have a high temperature near +1, near 0 for Summerside, Cavendish and Surrey. Cape Breton for tomorrow with high temperatures between 0 and 4 degrees. On the north shore of Nova Scotia, high temperatures near 0, but on the eastern shore, the highs between 0 and 2. Northern and central parts of the province for tomorrow with high temperatures between 1 and 3 degrees, including 2 at city centres Halifax and Dartmouth, 2 degrees for the Annapolis Valley. On the south shore of Nova Scotia, 3 at Bridgewater, Liverpool, Shelburne in the southwest. High temperatures near 3 degrees as well, including at Yarmouth. Taking a look at the 7-day outlook for New Brunswick coming up on Friday. Mix of sun and cloud during the day, but a little bit of light rain. Showers expected Friday night. Fairly mild for the start of the weekend on Saturday, but snow possible on Sunday. And temperatures turn a little bit chillier through the start of next week. Possibility of flurries next Wednesday. For Nova Scotia and the outlook coming up on Friday, mix of sun and cloud during the day, some light rain, showers, fog Friday night. There's a chance of showers on Saturday. Temperatures mild through the weekend, so rain in the forecast for Sunday. Flurries expected on Monday. Temperatures turning a little bit chillier into Tuesday with highs near 0, and then Wednesday a mix of sun and cloud. And for Prince Edward Island, the outlook coming up on Friday, a mix of sun and cloud during the day, some rain expected Friday night, a mix of sun and cloud for Saturday, a mixture of showers and flurries on Sunday as high temperatures will be near 2 degrees, flurries on Monday, and then a mix of sun and cloud for Tuesday and Wednesday, Todd.
All right, we'll see you later for the Wake Up. Next, we'll talk travel trends for the new year and how foreign affairs is impacting our decisions as to where to go. And then it's the scene.
Hi everyone, I'm Mary Francis. I am the daughter of Natalie McMaster and Danelle Leahy, and I've been enjoying making content for you guys so much in the last little while. Hear all about it coming up.
Welcome back. With events in Venezuela, there is plenty of questions about travel to that region. So what are Canadians thinking about? Where are they thinking about heading this winter? Lauren Christie is a travel analyst, long-time CTV contributor. We've reached him in Toronto. Always good to see you, Lauren.
Nice to see you, Todd.
As I mentioned, the world's focused on Venezuela. We talked to some travelers yesterday in the newscast concerned about heading to Cuba, one of the countries named by Trump. What are your thoughts? How's that going to affect travel? Will it affect vacations to that part of the world?
Well, certainly you're seeing on websites for airlines and whatnot talking about flight disruptions and whatnot and who to call and where to talk to. So there's a lot of chatter. A lot of people are concerned. I think you will see some sort of disruption, even if it's just people having anxiety about going there. As with anything that happens that comes out of the Trump administration, we have to kind of wait and see because you don't know if it's just chalk or what will happen. But definitely you are seeing concern and you know, clients and customers are reaching out and talking to, you know, the various airlines and tour operators and hotels about what their options may be.
Would you have any recommendations for anyone who's already plunked down the money and booked their ticket?
I would just wait and see a little bit longer. You know, no one has said that you're going to get, you know, free cancellation or free whatever. So if you really, I always say, if you're a vacationer and you're really, really stressed out about this, it's just not worth the money to force it on yourself. But if you're okay, I would just wait and see for the time being and just see how this plays out a little bit longer. This is all fairly new and there's a lot of noise out there right now.
There certainly is that. So where are Canadians looking? Let's start with the winter. Are there any trends that you've spotted?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. One of the places that's become really popular over the last year or so is Japan, and that continues for the winter. People who are on ski vacations, Flight Center has reported that they're seeing increase in bookings to Japan, particularly for ski, which I think is really interesting for a winter vacation. When it comes to sun travelers, you know, we just talking about the Caribbean, we're seeing a little bit of diversification when it comes to the Caribbean. So with increased flight lift to places like Turks and Caicos, St. Lucia, Barbados, still the traditional markets like Mexico, DR, Cuba are popular, and Mexico, I think, still remains the #1 for winter vacation. But it's been interesting to see people looking for something a little bit different than the all-inclusive vacation and going to some of these other islands.
Yeah, okay. Look, let's talk a bit about the vacation season, the summer season we just had. The numbers look to be really robust across the country, really good here in the Maritimers. You're from this part of the world. Do you think that's a bubble, a one-time event, or do you think we're in for a bit of a trend here and we should be ready for more arrivals?
I'm hoping for a trend. Destination Canada said last year was a record-breaking year. I think you are going to see, a lot of Canadians, they're not really interested in traveling to the United States right now. The records you see, report after report, I think the latest one from Skift, the Megatrend, said 62% down in Canadians going to the U.S. last year. I think you'll see that continuing. I think the geopolitics play into that, but I also think the loonie. And so I think there's a reason why Canadians will stick close to home again this year. I think it's just affordable. It feels safer. So you're going to see that. But I also think internationally, we've seen a bump from people who perhaps want to come to this part of the world, but maybe don't want to go to the States. And so they're coming to Canada as well. So I think all of that played really well for Canadians last year. So, maybe we won't break another record, but I think you could say that you're going to continue to see good tourism in Canada. We have great product, great people. We're welcoming to folks, and the loonie is a good value for a lot of people right now.
And a lot of international flights now, European flights direct to Halifax, so that's certainly going to bring more folks in.
That was another silver lining of the switch from Americans. The airlines are picking it up by opening up more routes to Europe for sure.
Let's talk about our American friends. We did see a lot of them coming north last summer, and again, I'm wondering if that's a one-off. We've been this whole elbows up thing, while seemingly supported by a lot of folks who live stateside. You're also starting to hear things that, well, if you don't want us, we're not going to come.
Yeah, I think it's a fine balance, right? Like, I think, elbows up, I think a lot of our American friends who understood that Canadians' feelings, or hopefully some of them did, understood Canadians' feelings about traveling stateside. But in the same respect, we want those American tourists up. They're our #1 market. We need those tourists coming into Canada. And so I think last year, even though we were saying, we're not going to come to you, but you can come to us, was okay. They kind of got it. But as that goes on, their tourism industry is hurting. A lot of those smaller operators in border states are hurting. And so if we're doing that to them, I think we have to be really careful about the reciprocal feeling. And if we want American tourist business to come here, I think we need to just make sure that we have those, it's more arms open than it is elbows up. And, that's one of the Ontario, a lot of the folks in tourism here had been grappling with that this summer, is that fine balance between the elbows up and the arms open, and just making sure that, if you as an individual don't want to travel to the States, that's fine. But what we really should be promoting is that you're still our friends, Americans. And if we want them to come here, we need to make them feel that way. If they start feeling unwelcome, they're not going to come. And that will hurt us.
Yeah, no doubt. Lauren, look, you're someone who travels quite a bit. Lots in the news today, the last few days, about WestJet and their decreased leg room. But how do you make the experience enjoyable? Nobody loves going to the airport anymore. But is there a way to make it a little more civil? Perhaps for somebody who's heading out on a vacation who doesn't necessarily travel all the time?
Todd, if I can answer that question perfectly, I think we'll all be a lot happier. But I'll just say this: I think pack your patience. Remember, it's not the person sitting next to you that's necessarily causing the issues, or the person in front of you, the gate agent and whatnot. I think, more than ever, pack your patience. And I do think it's funny, Flight Center came out with a survey, which I just thought was kind of interesting. And it was talking about it was a considerate traveler's guide, and some of the things that they said to do. And it was quite funny. And this sounds seemingly obvious to me, but things like perhaps don't be barefoot on the plane or in the airport. Perhaps don't chat the ear off next to the person next to you. And it wasn't in the guide, but I'll tell you, one of my personal ones is, it makes me crazy when I see people come with their 3 giant bags and try and shove it in the overhead. If you're going to travel light, I'm all for that. I do it sometimes myself, but make sure the bag actually suits the purpose and don't sort of take over other people's space. That's my personal pet peeve. But I think there's a lot of the ones out there. I think you just act like you would, I don't know, out at a dinner party versus, pretending you're in your own living room might be a good piece of advice.
Yes. Good one. Elevate travel once again. Lauren Christie of Lauren Christie Solutions in Toronto. It's good talking to you. Thanks for taking some time for us.
Thanks, Todd. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. We'll be right back. In our health report, doctors worry sweeping U.S. childhood vaccine changes will give Canadian parents the impression it's unsafe to immunize their children. CTV's Amanda Debison has that and more in tonight's edition of The Lifeline.
The Public Health Agency of Canada says sweeping U.S. changes to childhood vaccination schedules do not affect vaccine decision-making in Canada.
The agency says Canada's decisions are informed by rigorous reviews of all available evidence. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has reduced the number of recommended shots for all American children. The changes include limiting vaccines for things like rotavirus, meningococcal disease, flu, and RSV to certain high-risk groups. South of the border, obesity rates are at their lowest point in more than 15 years, but new research shows diabetes rates in the U.S. are now at record highs. In a new study by JAMA, researchers say the drop in obesity may be linked to the rise of GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy. But diabetes rates have climbed to a record high, now affecting nearly 14% of adults in the U.S. Experts say GLP-1s are powerful medications, but healthy habits like diet and exercise still matter in decreasing your risk for diabetes. Finally, a study in Nature Cardiovascular Research finds women may gain more heart health benefits from exercise than men. Women who exercised about 4 hours a week lowered their risk of coronary heart disease by 30%, while men needed about 8 hours to match that benefit. Even among people already living with heart disease, women who met the recommended 2.5 hours of weekly exercise had a 3-fold lower risk of death compared to men. Overall, the more time participants spent being active, the lower their risk of heart disease and death. With Health and Medical News, I'm Amanda Debison for The Lifeline.
We're on the scene with Katie Kelly tonight. Tonight you are featuring a very popular musical family. We're all pretty familiar.
Yes, yes. We all love them. Chances are you already follow them. And if not, you're about to see why you should. If you've spent any time on social media, chances are Mary Frances and the rest of the Leahy family have popped up on your feed. They're a whole lot of talent, all under one roof.
I think it's genetic, but also environmental.
Mom is Cape Breton's Natalie McMaster.
I think this finger on the D string is flat.
Dad, Danelle Leahy, 2 legendary fiddlers.
So it's fans that I get, but it's also fans of theirs that I just get like handed, which is nice.
I think it's my fiddle.
The oldest of 7 kids, 20-year-old Mary Frances, an instrumentalist, vocalist, and dancer.
Let's be honest, who's the best fiddle player in our family?
Dad, probably. She says there's one word to describe what it was like to grow up in such a musical family.
Word I use is crazy, and crazy in every sense. Especially the traveling element, traveling with all those people. It's crazy fun. It's crazy. It's hard. It's just crazy. Like there's a lot going on at all times. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. Like honestly, I love it.
7, 8.
Now Mary Frances is sharing that world with millions, one TikTok at a time. Oh, for God's sakes, that friggin' thing.
Her videos are fun, unscripted, and have turned into a whole new way to connect with fans of traditional music, or people who may have never set foot in a Celtic show before.
And numerous people came up to me and said, "Oh, we're here because we follow you on TikTok."
She's keeping East Coast culture at the heart of it all, while bringing it to a whole new generation.
That is my favorite part, and that has become the motivation. I'm doing fusion, like I'm playing different styles, but I keep the Celtic, like the Cape Breton thing at the heart of it, and I hope people can get the same, like, just life and energy from it that I do, because honestly, music is my life.
For Mary Frances, carrying on this family legacy is an honor.
Very proud. And I feel so, like, lucky and, like, and I appreciate it. I'm very aware and I don't take it for granted.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, so there's a lot of them, obviously, but I have to tell you. So I spent some time in central Ontario where they live.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just a small portion of the Leahy clan. They're everywhere, and they all play music. There's probably 3 times as many as you saw there.
Mm-hmm. I love how she said environmental and genetic.
Yeah, that's right.
It's
that's
so
right.
true.
Yeah. Anyway, great to see her. She's got a bright future, of course.
Oh, they all do. It's awesome. 7 kids, Natalie has.
Oh.
7 kids, Natalie and Danelle. Love you all. That was awesome. Go follow Mary Frances Music on all platforms. The videos are gold. They are gold. Yeah.
Thank you very much. We'll be back with the business report after this.
Okay, so we're back at it tomorrow, giving you a chance to win $100,000 with Virgin Radio's $100,000 to show your dad.
Keywords starting at 7 a.m.
Also get a shot at a $250 gift card to St. Louis Bar and Grill.
This was quite a turnaround on the markets today. The Dow closed down 466 points. In Washington, wasting no time, taking control of the oil industry in Venezuela, and that could pose a risk to Canada's industry. B&M Bloomberg's Marilla Fernandez now.
The U.S. now says it will control Venezuela's oil industry indefinitely. Washington also says it is importing over $2 billion worth of oil from Venezuela. The barrels of heavy crude will be refined in the U.S. The news sent the global price of oil down today, but Canadian crude has been slipping all week, with concerns that the heavy, sour crude Venezuela will export will compete with similar Canadian product. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is down to 72.16. West Texas Intermediate is down to 56.32. Western Canadian Select down over $1 to 43.05. And the TSX lost 271 points today, but remains above 32,000. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
Kayla Mitchell in a very wet weather deck.
Yeah, it's a cold January rain that's falling right now and heavy, and this will be the heaviest of it for the Halifax area. Should be clearing through over the next couple of hours. Let's take a look at a view picture for tonight. Beautiful shot from this past weekend featuring a lunar halo. Same effect as a sun halo, so it's created by tiny ice crystals aloft in the atmosphere. Can be a sign, though, that there is a change in weather to come, because oftentimes those tiny ice crystals comprise high cloud cover that runs out ahead of low cloud cover, bringing precipitation, much like what is falling on me right now. In the forecast for tomorrow for the Minto area, it's going to be a mix of sun and cloud and a high temperature of getting around to +1. The start of the day for tomorrow, though, flurries expected in the north of New Brunswick, and still some light snow falling around Prince Edward Island, eastern areas of Nova Scotia, even some flurries in Cape Breton. The afternoon, mostly a mix of sun and cloud around the Maritime region, with high temperatures ranging between -1 and +3. Let's find out what's ahead on Your Morning Atlantic.
Thursday on Your Morning Atlantic, praise for appraisals. Did you receive new fine jewelry over the holidays? We'll find out why you should consider getting it appraised. Start your morning with us Thursday on Your Morning Atlantic on CTV2 and Crave.
Have you ever run into this? You get on the elevator, it isn't working, and you dread taking the stairs? You could always do what this guy did.
Ready, set, go.
Skip the stairs. Instead, he found his own way safely to the ground. This is base jumper Danny Roman, and he cleared 139 floors at the world's tallest building in Dubai. He didn't pull his chute until he dropped about 100 floors. He landed safely on the ground. This video is posted by the folks at Red Bull. All right. That is our day here at home. Bruce Frisco has our late update at 11:30. CTV News Atlantic.ca has stories anytime and, of course, the forecast. I'm Todd Battis. Hope to see you here tomorrow night. Good night.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast. Watch live on Crave.